Wonderful. Excellent. As we roll into this, just before we get into the meat of our session today, I wanted to do a little bit of an introduction to myself and With You With Me. So my name is Abby Lamb. I'm one of the associate partners at With You With Me, and I support our clients in the UK to unlock the full potential in their workforce. And the slide that we have here does a really good job of actually summing up what who With You With Me is. But I'm going to kind of share a little bit more information as we go through the session today about what we do. But for those of you that haven't had the chance to speak to us as yet, we're essentially here to help organisations to get the most out of their people whilst giving them the best opportunity to succeed. And we've been championing for a skills-first mindset. So that really kind of the process of leaning into a person's skill and potential rather than experience for almost 10 years now. And during this time, we've been lucky enough to be afforded a front row seat to the workforce strategies of some of the world's most progressive and inspiring HR leaders and organisations. So the session today, just to share a little bit of an agenda with you, we're going to start off. I thought it'd be useful to kind of go in and just recap what is a skills-based organisation. And from there, we will roll into looking at the importance of aligning skills in your workforce to your business strategy. Why is it so important? And what are the challenges that also come along with that? We're then going to be looking at what seems a very cryptic title of the 3 C's, but that's just giving you some context around how With You With Me is supporting organisations and helping them through that process of aligning skills to business strategy. And then I'm going to be briefly touching on how you can communicate that need for skill alignment within your organisation. And as I say, if you've got time for some questions at the end, that would be brilliant. But please do feel free just to drop those questions into the chat as we go along today. And I will answer any of those outside of the session if we don't have time to cover them off during the webinar. So, as I say, I thought a good place to start before we get into the nitty-gritty of aligning skills to your strategy, actually just going back and looking at what we mean by a skills-based organisation. So, skills-based organisation refers to a company that is prioritising skills over traditional jobs. And for the past 140 years, work has been organised around jobs in functional hierarchies, and that's been the main currency of work. But actually, the world is changing, and that constant accelerated pace of change means that our organisations need to be agile. Whether it be AI and work automation, whether it be alternative arrangements for work on the back of COVID-19, all these things are gradually revealing that the traditional work operating system that's based on jobs and job holders is not actually going to be fit for purpose as we move into the future. So that move to skills as the currency of work is gaining real momentum at the moment because of that. And I was reading a study by the World Economic Forum the other day, and this stat really stood out to me, and I wanted to share it with you because in their report, they suggested that across the 18 economies that they analysed, more than 100 million people could be added to the global talent pool if a skills-first approach was taken. 100 million people. So actually, when we are talking about constantly in our kind of the network that I'm working in at the moment, the clients that we're speaking to, we hear so often about skills shortages. So actually, by taking this skills-first approach, it's unlocking potential for so many more people. So that's why we're seeing organisations starting to make this change. Now, on Friday, I sent out a poll to those of you that had signed up to the webinar, just asking you where you are on this journey to becoming skills-based. What we're seeing at the moment is that a lot of organisations are kind of taking those first steps. They're exploring the concept. And actually, the majority of responses that I got back stated that that's where you are. You're exploring the concept. Some companies are already there, which is brilliant. But often, and kind of what we're seeing at the moment, is there's lots of things that need to be taken into consideration. So as you're starting to build this business case, this webinar, hopefully today, will give you some insight, some kind of steps that you can take away to put in place within your organisation as you start this journey. So when we work with organisations who are starting this journey, one of the key processes that we feel is important as you go on this journey is aligning skills and your workforce to your business strategy. Now, what are the benefits? Why should we be doing this? Why is it this specific step that we focus on? Well, aligning skills to business strategy is crucial to ensure that your company has the capability to achieve its goals. And the reasons that I've detailed here, I'll just run through, are some that as you build your business case internally, you can take into consideration as well. So firstly, and quite obviously, aligning skills to strategy supports your strategic execution. Because without the right skills, even the most well-crafted strategy is going to struggle to be executed. Skilled employees are essential for executing on projects, driving innovation, achieving those all-important KPIs. Because strategy outlines essentially where the company wants to go, what is their vision. But it's the people with the right skills who turn that vision into actionable plans and tangible results. So if there's a misalignment, the strategy itself is either going to fall short or it might fail completely. The second point is around increasing agility and adaptability. Now, on the previous slide, we spoke about kind of the changes that are happening and the fact that organizations need to be agile. They need to be able to respond to change. So actually, in today's fast-paced business environment, when you align skills to strategy, what you are doing is you're setting the organization up to quickly adapt to technological advancements, market shifts, emerging competition. You're ensuring that your workforce is future-proofed because you're looking not only at the now, but you're looking at, okay, what do we need moving forwards? So you're equipped to kind of pivot whenever is necessary. And that agility is essential for long-term sustainability. And I know through the organisations I'm speaking with at the moment, lots of strategy is that future focus, making sure that the company and where the business is going is fit for the future rather than just looking at the now. The third point here is around optimizing resource utilization. And I know if I was writing a business case and sending something up to the board for sign off, this is absolutely where I would be focusing, because what we want to make sure is that we're doing the most with what we have. Are we operating efficiently? And actually, yes, when you align skills with business needs, you're ensuring that your employees are working on the right tasks, the right projects. So you're reducing waste and you're improving productivity. So not only are you maximizing efficiency, it's also more cost effective because you're using the team that you have, and upskilling or reskilling employees internally can often be a lot more cost effective than having to hire externally. The fifth point is around driving employee engagement and retention. And I had a meeting last week with the CEO of the CIPD, and we were talking about this the way that kind of what employees are looking for within an organisation has completely changed. They're really driven to see where the future of their career might be going. How can they grow within an organisation? So actually this point is really key. And when employee skills are aligned with the business strategy, they can see that clear path for how their work contributes to organisational goals. That gives them job satisfaction, that motivates them, and it gives them that sense of purpose. And it also is really useful for making sure that you keep hold of them, that you are retaining that top talent, because actually if they feel that their skills are being utilised and they're being given opportunity to grow, they're more likely to stay. You're fostering loyalty, and hopefully as a result, you're going to reduce any staff turnover there as well. And finally, measurable business impact. This is another one that I think is key for business cases. When skills are aligned with strategy, it becomes much easier to direct the impact of skill development on business outcomes. So whether that's through improved financial performance, enhanced customer satisfaction, all the benefits are measurable. And you're also going to get better ROI on training and development because you're ensuring that investments in the employee development have tangible return, because training programs can be directly kind of targeted to address specific skill gaps that are going to contribute to strategic objectives. So rather than having a general skill building kind of training program that's not going to deliver immediate results or immediate value, it's actually targeted. It's addressing specific needs for your strategy. So you can see there's so many benefits to this. And I guess on the back of that, it's like, well, how come all these companies aren't doing it immediately? There are all these benefits. Why aren't we making this change now? And actually, it's not as simple as that, obviously. Otherwise, everybody would have moved to this process and be kind of fully operational with it. There are challenges that come with us looking to make this change to becoming a skills-based organisation. And At this point, this is kind of where I wanted to hopefully get a poll in action. So Toby's going to send a poll through to you now, where we want to capture, what do you think is the biggest barrier to moving to a skills-based organisation? So it could be something that you're observing within your organisation. It could be something that you're seeing just externally in the market. But the options that I've given you, I've actually taken here from a study that I was reading by PwC, where they were asking what main barriers they felt were kind of being seen as being the barrier to changing to being skill-based. So a couple of options here: legacy mindset and practices. We know that changing to being a skills-based organisation requires a lot of change. People don't really like change. So is it that actually it's people holding you back, or processes internally that it's going to be too difficult to change? Is it that it's really difficult to kind of keep up with the changing skills that are needed by the business? We know that things shift and move all the time. Is that going to prove too much of a challenge as you go on this journey? Is it that you just don't know where to start? How do we align skills to business priorities? Is it that actually once you've got it in place, it's too complex of a process to then manage moving forwards? Is it that you don't have maybe the structure in place to evaluate performance based on skills? Maybe you don't have the technology to do any of this. And cost is also a huge kind of part of this process as well. So is it just that you don't have the budget available to do it? So let's just capture some of those responses. I'm just going to have a look. You can see the poll coming up, then please pop a response in there. As I say, if there is any issues and you aren't able to, then please use the chat functionality to just pop a response in there as well, and we'll kind of capture the information. And Toby, once we've got a few more, if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing what the top response is, I'll share a little bit of information from the study that I was reading, and legacy mindset and practices was the top response. People were just finding it was too difficult to make that change when people are used to working in a certain way, and because they're set up to work in that way, actually to make that change, it's too big of a shift, and they feel that they aren't set up to be able to achieve that. So yeah, I can see Toby, any more in the chat there?
Yeah, there's a couple in the chat. Obviously, predominantly around legacy mindset and practices on the poll, but also complexity of managing skills-based practices has come up, and the inability, to evaluate performance based on skills.
Lovely. Yeah, absolutely. And what I would say with this is that kind of these challenges, I'd say the majority of the organisations that we're working with, they're all facing these challenges, and it's about, okay, working with them to understand which challenges can we unpick and support, because often it seems like such a big change, and that's where the legacy piece comes in. But having the right technology, and then looking and working with an HR function and L&D to understand, okay, how do we need to change our processes to kind of move forward with this? These are all things that we can tackle, and this is the work that we're doing at WithYouWithMe, but absolutely kind of putting in a structure and a process to be able to support you with each of these areas is really important. So that kind of leads me nicely onto the next slide here, which is the 3 C's, the topic in the agenda that probably meant nothing to those of you on the call if you've not worked with me before, because actually the 3 C's I'm mentioning here is WithYouWithMe's proven kind of way of working with organisations to help with that process of aligning your employees' skills with the strategy and the needs of the business. So when we do this, we look at the 3 C's, we say clarity, capability, and closure. What we're doing here is we're giving a structured and strategic approach that's involving the assessment of your current workforce, looking at what your future needs might be, and implementing targeted learning initiatives. So this is our kind of step-by-step, I would say, of how we break this down in the action that we take to help with that process of aligning skills to strategy. So if we break that down, let's start with that first piece of the puzzle, the clarity piece. So what we want to do here is we want to firstly clarify what the strategic goals are, because when we do this, we can then break down those key areas that require specific skills to succeed. because we need to get that clarity then on the skills that are necessary, that are critical for us to achieve our goals. So once we've got that clarity over what the goals are, we're then going to introduce a skills framework, because actually that's going to help us get to the nitty-gritty, get to the heart of those important critical skills for our success. Now, the popularity of skills frameworks has definitely exploded in recent times, and I'm sure many of you are working with one or come across one up till now, but it's because obviously previously we didn't have a way of being able to consistently kind of grade and assess roles. So with a framework in place, it helps with that. So now, using a skills framework, we can think of jobs and roles throughout the organisation in terms of skills. And that gives us the ability to really drill down and look at, right, within each role, what are the skills that are necessary for us to meet that strategic objective? So what you're doing there is you're removing all the noise. If you think with a job description ordinarily, there's lots of information in there. They're often out of date. It's not actually showing an individual what they need to be doing, what work they need to be kind of putting in place, and what level they need to be operating at for us to succeed. So with you, with me is therefore taking away that noise that typically comes with job descriptions and duty statements. And we have the clarity that we need to then move forward and assess the capability that sits within our workforce. So in step 2, we're looking to understand and align the capability that we have with the needs of the organisation. So at this point, we give employees the ability to self-assess their skills against that demand signal that's being set by the organisation. Now, at this point, people often just allow that self-assessment stage to give them the information that they need. But actually, with you, with me, we believe that it's a two-step process, and that it needs to have the alignment of both the employee and the manager. So the employee completes their self-assessment, and the manager is able to validate and then agree on the employee skill and skill level. This alignment is super important, because actually we need to keep that employee motivated, and they need to feel like they're part of the process, but also the manager has to also agree with that as well. So by coming together and having that conversation, what you're doing then, and what the manager, the team, the leaders are getting, is a really useful and relevant map of actually, okay, this is what the current team is working at. These are the skill levels that are happening. This is where we want to get to. So now we can see where any potential risk might sit, because we can see those skills gaps, those skills lags that exist in our team. And it's with that information that we can then move on to that third step of being able to close the gap. So actually at this point, what we're doing, so with you, with me, we combine that information around risk and skill gaps. We combine that with aptitude and psychometric data. And that's our secret sauce, essentially, that we're doing here, because what we're doing here is we're actually working and making tailored learning plans that are based on each individual. It's based on their natural affinity for learning and strength. So that actually when we produce these tailored learning plans, they're weighted and sequenced by what they are most likely to complete and be successful in. And it's really important point to reiterate at this point, it's tying all of that information together, natural strengths, organisational demand and risk, to make and prioritise learning pathways, because that's actually the piece that we often see as being missing. And it's that piece specifically that helps you to realise real and sustainable value moving forwards. Because once we've got that information and we've got those tailored learning pathways, it's then that we can close that skills lag. We are able to mitigate that risk. And not only are you doing that, you're fostering a learning culture where you're encouraging continuous learning and development across the organisation. And we spoke about how important that is for retaining employees. You're aligning development with real business projects, and you're encouraging your employees to apply new skills in their daily tasks as well. Now, on one of the options in the poll before, it was about having the capacity to manage that process, because it's not a flash in the pan situation. This isn't something that should be done once, it's ticked in a box and then it's done. This is something that needs to be regularly assessed and updated, because your business will continuously change, your strategy is going to be updated, and your workforce is likely to change as well. So the process that we apply here is one that can be replicated, whether it be quarterly reviews. It becomes part of your way of working. It's embedded within your organisation. And this is who you are then moving forward, where you're empowering your employees, your managers. And then the results that you get on the back of it is that your workforce is equipped with the skills necessary to support the delivery of that strategy. You're driving growth, you're driving innovation, and you're keeping that competitive advantage. Now, when I speak with organisations, they're often at that early stage, as I mentioned, of looking at moving to becoming skills-based. And often that means that they're going to have to put together a business case or articulate to people within the organisation why it's so important to make this change. So at this point, I just wanted to give a bit of a flow as to how you can address this and communicate that need for skill alignment and put into words kind of what the risk is of those skills gaps that you find out by going through the 3Cs process beforehand. So how can you articulate that risk and help you on the way? Now, obviously, we don't have lots of time, so this is very high level. And actually, we have a webinar coming up next month at the end of November in partnership with LAIF Partners, where we're going to delve even deeper into helping building out that business case. Where do you start? But for the moment, I wanted to give you just some thoughts and some ideas about how you can articulate to the business how those current skill gaps could actually jeopardize the strategy. And to do that, it requires balancing the direct risk with actionable insight. So I just wanted to run through this quickly with you. So the first step is obviously going through that process of aligning skills gaps with strategic goals, because through doing that, through going through that skills mapping exercise, you're going to identify the specific skills gaps that could impede on the delivery of those goals. From there, you're able to link the gaps to measurable outcomes that are going to matter to your leadership. So whether that be financial performance, it could be customer satisfaction, operational inefficiencies, or your competitiveness in the market. You're going to be able to illustrate the potential negative impacts of not addressing the gaps. Is it that you're missing opportunities? Is it that there's slower project timelines? And you can actually demonstrate the cost of inaction versus investment in upskilling or hiring. You can also highlight the risk to innovation and agility. I've talked a lot about that, the fact that you have this need to be adaptable, to be agile in this fast-changing market. So skills gaps prevent businesses from responding quickly. If you've been through that process, you can see what those skills gaps are. So actually, you can communicate what that impact is going to be. And you can also stress how other businesses are evolving by upskilling and recruiting, which could actually leave your company behind if you don't look to upskill and address those gaps. We know that being able to present data and case studies will strengthen any argument. So you can use data-driven insight from the work that you've done through that skill mapping exercise to reinforce your case. And you can also leverage case studies from other organisations that have faced similar challenges or are looking to go through the same process. And one thing I would recommend is most of the WithYouWithMe team at the moment are reading a book which is focused on the work that Standard Chartered have done on their journey to becoming a skills-based organisation. They have lots of data points and insights and kind of talk around the impact that they've seen. So I'll share the details of that book with you after, because I would highly recommend it as a place to start if you are exploring this concept, because they really delve into, okay, why should we do this and how they achieve it. But once you've done that, you're able to look at then offering the solution, how you're going to address and tackle these risks, these gaps, whether that be training, partnerships, new technology tools to bridge those gaps. And you can create a phased plan for addressing those skill gaps, maybe the most critical ones first. And then you could present this plan as part of a process of kind of tackling risk in the overall strategy. And finally, it's really important that you collaborate with leaders on this, because actually to go through this process, it requires leadership's involvement and the fact that they would be advocating for this to make sure it is a success. So show them how investing in people development is going to be directly linked to long-term growth, innovation and profitability. Because by focusing on clear connections between skill gaps and business outcomes, you're going to be able to create a compelling narrative for why this immediate action is essential. Now, here is just a really quick overview of the work that WithYouWithMe have been doing, so you can kind of get a feel for, okay, why are we even here talking to you about this? But we're confident in our approach because we've co-built our platform and the work we do with our customers to make sure that what we are delivering is tackling and going to be working for organisation in the real world. And we've got lots of underlying proof points from the last 7 years, matching people to skills and kind of learning and creating productive employees and teams. So I can share more information with any of you that are interested outside of the session around this, and also with what I was covering with clarity, capability and closure, take you through some of the kind of a bit more detail around what that looks like for a company, how we would do that, what we are able to produce for you. So kind of looking specifically at the platform and some of the output there, if that would be helpful. But as we finish today, what I want to do is just kind of come back to what we've covered really in the session today. So we've started to look at why it's so important to align skills to strategy and why it's such a good place to start as you go on this journey. We've looked at what those barriers might be, but also kind of then identified a methodology through the 3 C's that WithYouWithMe move here to help you to put into practice that process of aligning skills to strategy, by creating clarity and removing noise, by ensuring that we understand the capability that we have in our teams. Lots of companies don't have that insight. So looking at that and understanding the importance of it, seeing where you are versus where you want to be, and understanding then where the risk sits and the gaps exist, so we can produce tailored learning plans to then bridge that gap. With this process then in place, we have the tools that we need to help articulate internally that need for skills alignment and why we should do it now. Because it's in doing that that we ensure that an organisation is both capable to kind of meet its goals, but they're also equipped to navigate challenges and capitalise on opportunities. And you're then building a workforce that is not only competent, but it's also deeply integrated into your company's long-term success. Now, we are coming to the end of the webinar here. It's absolutely flown by, but I hope today you've got some insight and some kind of steps or tips that you can take away to put this into practice as you're looking to explore that movement to becoming a skills-based organisation, or if you're already on the journey, to help you progress even further. But WithYouWithMe would very much like to support organisations who are on this journey. So if you would like to reach out to me, please do drop me an email to the address on your screen. I will reach out to everybody just to kind of share that information that I've touched on today. And we are offering you all, anybody attending, if you want some support on this journey, we're offering you the opportunity to send us a handful of your job descriptions and we will transform them into their skills-based version. So as I say, I will reach out to everybody, cover this off, but thank you all for your time today, and we hope that you can join us for our next webinar at the end of November in partnership with Lace Partners as we delve deeper into the heart of building out that business case. But have a good afternoon all, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.